Hi there.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make yourself comfortable. Find a sit, grab a blanket or a pillow or whatever shape allows you to fully arrive. So I've been playing with the breath for a few years, but intentionally the last month as a meditation tool, as a grounding tool. And so as you arrive, maybe that works for you as well, in the sense that not only do you ground through your physical body and ground through your mental body by choosing to be here still and quiet, supported and stable, but choosing to also ground your energy body, your subtle body, your prana maya kosha. And you can facilitate that sense of grounding, perhaps by lengthening your exhale, by shifting your gaze downward or closing the eyes and turning inward, the pratyahara, or maybe even laying your hands to rest on your thighs or your heart to add that extra heavy weight. But the breath for grounding is really the entry tool to grounding in the body and the mind. Because the breath is less of our anchor, more of a sail to capture the wind and propel us forward into life. Life that is waiting beyond this moment. And so we begin by grounding in preparation for flying, for sailing, for returning. The breath fills our sails. Our values become the rudder in which to drive or to direct our movement. In this moment, it's enough to just simply unite the body and the mind. Thich Nhat Hanh says that this unity of body and mind is not just a choice, but a practice. In our daily life, he writes, we lose ourselves all the time. The body is here, but the mind is somewhere else, in the past, in the future, carried away by anger, jealousy, fear, and so on. The mind is not really present with the body. We are not really here. To be truly here, we bring the body back to the mind and the mind back to the body. We have to bring about what is called the unity of body and mind, the yoga. Often the body and the mind go in different directions, as if somehow thinking, believing that we can multitask. And yet, just like driving or captaining our sailboat, if the sails and the rudder don't collaborate, we spin in circles. We go nowhere, and even perhaps run the risk of being blown over to sink. Our practice of the breath is the simplest, most accessible entry point to bring the body and the mind together. To fill the sails with breath, with energy, to direct our boat from the rudder with our values of what matters most. We shift the weight of our bodies in order to receive and to catch that breath. And sometimes that simply means being in this moment or tying ourselves to a dock, to a teaching, to a practice, to a space. Again, Thich Nhat Hanh says, it only takes a few seconds of mindful breathing for your body and mind to begin to come back together again. Just concentrate on your in breath, then on your out breath. You don't need to think about anything else. The past, the future, your worries, your anger, your despair, not needed here. Follow the in breath. Follow the out breath. Enjoy this breathing. Enjoy just being here. And in order to be here, we let go of everything else. We let go of where we've been. We let go of what's waiting for our arrival, where we're going. We let go of expectations, of shoulds, of coulds, of obligations and expectations. We allow the breath to lift, to rise, to open up the belly, the ribs, the chest, to fill the sail, to propel us into what's next. Yes. To sustain us here in this pause. As we offload anything that is unnecessary. We let go of anything that is no longer serving, no longer welcome or wanted. We release that which perhaps has become an obligation, a burden. Freeing ourselves from past expectations. By being here now, just as we are in body, in breath, and mind. We begin again by letting go of whatever we do not need to free ourselves of the binds, of the ties, of the weights that hold us back, keep us small, limit our horizons. What analogy, what metaphor works for you? Maybe it is this analogy of the ship and the sails. Or maybe it's a hike along a path, barely trod or well worn. Imagine yourself in that imagining. What do you smell, see, taste, touch, and hear? What are you carrying in your backpack or in your heart? What stories of shame, of guilt, disappointment? What expectations are heavy for fear of not being fulfilled or fear of missing the mark? You set them aside, maybe even wrapping them up and leaving them as a gift. They may, in fact, serve someone else if you let them go. Not unlike our donations of unused or unneeded household goods or clothes. You set them aside to make them available for some other new purpose. And in doing so, we open the space for our own adventures, our own unfolding, our becoming. Now, in your mind's eye, take a step back from being the hero in this story, the sojourner on your path, and zoom out to the witness perspective. And in the exhale, give prana to your forward practice. Stay here as the witness observer. Come back into your being. A gentle push towards your becoming. The vacuum drawing you into what's next begins here. By lifting the anchor that has rooted you. Not to lose sight of what matters or where you're from or where you are, but to know that this too becomes a casting off place, a place to begin again, to receive this breath, this energy of prana, to explore the winds, the currents, the vayus of prana herself. And sometimes you may float like a dandelion seed, and others you might propel like a rocket, like a laser, a shooting star, or perhaps a casual floating cloud. How will you move into what's next? By tapping more intimately into this prana that flows through you. Bringing the anchor of your mind-body connection with you. To drop anchor, to settle in, to recalibrate anytime you need, to begin again. For some, the temptation is to cut that tether to the anchor, to cut the link between body and mind. And for a moment, it might feel freeing. But eventually, we'll miss that grounded sense of connection that ties us to the now, to the being, and to our communities. So we bring with us these tools, these practices, so that we can move into what's next by letting go of what's not needed and carrying with that which matters most. schedule and time allow, please remain here as long as you'd like. Otherwise, we close our practice with a bow and a blessing to begin again, to connect mind and body, to receive and release the energy flow of breath, so that we may breathe deeply and move freely. Labor lovingly as we choose our path, our journey, so that we can live vibrantly and intimately with prana and with one another. Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye. Have a great weekend. Have a great afternoon.